Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today we're going to be recreating this look right here. It is super flirty and out there, and I used to do this all the time back in the day regardless of what the occasion might have been. However, eventually it did become worn out, so I started changing it up a little. However, sitting here today I was just like, I really want to do something for you guys and I'm not sure what, so I decided to recreate this. So if you guys want to learn all those tips and tricks on how to achieve this look, just keep watching. So I've got my base and brows on and we're just going to dive right in. Usually I go in with the Jacklyn palette. However, today we are going to be using the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. This, when it first came out, was my favorite palette. Let me show you guys. I hit pan on almost all the shades. I was obsessed with this palette once I got my hands on it. I could not put it down. So I'm going to pick this palette back up and I am going to recreate the look I used to always do back in the day. So I'm going to recreate that look. So starting with the transition shade, I'm going to use Eden. That's this pinky shade right here on camera. It looks, oh, there you go. Yeah, this pinky shade right here on any fluffy brush. I'm just gonna pick that up. It's a very subtle pink. I've hit the pan on this shade also, so I'm trying to pack it onto there. So picking it up on a fluffy brush. So just like you would normally with a transition shade, pack it onto the outer corner and then lightly bring it in and then up to the brow. This one I'm not gonna blend all over the lid as much since I am gonna go in with a shimmer in the inner corner of my eyes. So we are gonna kind of be doing somewhat of a half cut crease. See, it's such a nice subtle pink. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other eye, packing it onto the outer corner and blending it out into the crease, not so onto the whole lid and up to the brow. Just like you normally would with any transition shade. Alright, next, I feel like you guys are totally going to know what shades I'm going to use throughout the whole video since all of them have been... majority of them have hit the pan already. So I'm going to pick up Blazing. Yep, Blazing, that's this. It's kind of like an orangey, pinky shade. So pack that onto the same fluffy brush. I'm going to keep this, apply this on, just like I did with the transition shade. So keeping it in the outer corner and bringing it in, but just keeping it slightly lower than our transition shade. That's how you get the beautiful gradient effect. So packing it onto the outer corner and then bringing it in. See how I'm just sticking to the outer corner more so? We want most of the product to stay there. And then I'm bringing it up to the brow and then gradually bringing it in. We are going to clean this up with concealer later, once we do go in with our shimmer. So I've already went ahead and did the same exact thing onto the other eye. It's the same process over and over, just blending it out in the outer corner and then bringing it in slightly. So I'm just going to go darker and darker in shade. So I'm going to pick up this burgundy red shade right here on that same brush. I don't really switch out my brushes. Unless I'm doing something really detailed, then I do go smaller and smaller in my brushes. Otherwise I just stick to the same brush. So placing that in the outer corner as well and then lower. The only difference is when we're starting, we start high with our transition shade, and then as we're going deeper and deeper into the colors, we just bring them lower and lower. So I'm just sticking super low into the outer corner and then just brushing it back and forth in the outer corner only until the shade starts dying down. Then I start bringing it into the crease further and further. and then back, and then up to the brow, and this will blend all of it together. So I'm gonna pick up this shade right here. It has a hint of like a rustiness to it. So it's the shade Amber, picking that up and sticking into the outer corner. This is just gonna draw more attention towards the eyes. So if your outer corners are darker than your inner corners, your eyes tend to appear bigger. So picking up that chocolate brown, packing it onto the outer corner, and just blending it out in small circles, only in the outer corner. So I'm just tightly blending it out in there just to kind of give it like more of a dimension in the outer corner to make it darken it up a little more. So just like that, it's darkened it up in here. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. Packing it onto there, strictly staying in the outer corner and then blending it out. Our next shade is going to be this chocolate brown right here. I barely have any left. And this, I'm just gonna pack it on just like I did with the last shade onto the outer corner, just to draw more attention to the eyes. So packing it on and baby circle, blending it out. So I'm kind of bringing it into the crease, but sticking to the outer corner at all time. I'm barely feathering it in there. The brush is barely touching my skin. And now there's barely anything left, so I'm gonna bring it all the way in. So it's all beautifully blended out. So I finished off the other eye off camera, and we are gonna go ahead and jump into creating the cut crease. So I'm gonna use a small brush. You can use any concealer. I'm gonna go ahead and just pick up my Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and I picked up quite a bit of product. I'm just gonna drop it on the back of my hand and just work off that. So you barely need anything. So I'm just dropping it on the back of my hand. So I'm gonna start in the inner corner. So just placing it not in the crease, just slightly below the crease, because we're gonna move our way up. So I'm just dragging it down. And bringing it higher and higher as we're creating the cut crease. And then when I get about halfway, if the product's already not dying down, I just wipe a bit away off on the back of my hand and just blend it out. And we are gonna blend this harsh line out. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the other eye, packing on product onto that. And then bringing it higher and higher as you're going in. But just stay a little under when you open your eyes, just barely touching the actual crease. So this is how we're looking right now. So just to blend it out, I'm gonna pick up that same brush. I'm not gonna pick up any more product, and just pat it and blend it out in the outer corner. And then into the crease, so there's no harsh lines. So barely feathering it in, because you want to keep the inner corner still super light. So just like that, I'm not going to keep blending it out. So the other side also, just patting it out, that harsh line, and it's just going to soften it up, and then barely feathering it in here. And just like that, and not blend it out any further. Next, I'm gonna go in with that shimmer shade we were gonna use. So with the same palette, I'm gonna pick up Angelic. So it's this pinky shade right here. It's like a really nice Barbie pink. I'm going to use that same brush I was using for the concealer. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to pick up Desert Sand. That's the fairest shade in this palette. It's like an off-white. I'm going to pick that up, and I'm just going to set that concealer before I do go in with Angelic, just so it glides on a little smoothly. So just packing that onto the inner corner, and do the same thing for the other side, just packing it on just to set that concealer. You can use any powder. It's in the palette. I don't want to grab a setting powder, and it's easier. And this actually helped blend out that harsh line also. So that's perfect. So I actually brought it all the way up to my crease. I kind of blended it out beautifully. So next I'm going to go in with Angelic. So that shade we were going to pick up, that's this one right here. Before I do that, I'm going to actually spray my brush with a setting spray. You can use any setting spray. This is just the one I had handy. So I'm going to drench my brush with a setting spray and then pick that shade up. This is going to pack it on and make it a lot more glowy and give it a nice wet looking effect. When you apply it, it's going to just look super wet. So I'm going to pick up quite a bit. I don't like using my fingers when you're going in with a shimmer. I know a lot of people do use their fingers. I don't. I can't. It doesn't work for me. So just picking that up. So when I put on a shimmer, I start high, push down, and drag. And it gives it a very wet look. So once you spray your brush, and then once you're done doing that, dragging it down your lid, then you can go in and then pat any area that is necessary. So I'm done dragging it all the way. It just looks really wet when you actually do it this way. So now I'm gonna pick up more product and just pat it wherever it requires. Most of the area I do like to cover up while dragging down, just so it looks more wet. And I'm gonna actually bring this all the way in. So bringing it all the way in. And then up. And now I'm just gonna blend it out into the crease. And all the way to the end when there's barely any product. It's just gonna blend out with the shadow, the darker shadows in the outer corners, and it's not gonna look chalky like you have a stop line. But I'm still gonna go over that area with the chocolate brown once more. So I'm gonna do the same thing, wetting my brush, not as much as the first time I did, and then picking up that shade, packing it on, starting high and bringing it down. I seriously love this look. It's super Barbie. Makes me feel super girly. So I'm gonna go in with that brush we were using just to blend everything out. I did not pick any product up. I'm just gonna use this to blend out any harsh lines we created. There's actually not a lot of harsh lines at all, which I'm super happy about. So I'm just gonna kind of soften it all up. So just go over the crease and the outer corner, and that's about it. So not bringing it in. I'm just like, I brought the shimmer out a lot more just so I can go over it with the dark shade, because the shimmer's not really gonna cover up the dark shades. The dark shade can actually cover up the shimmer, so I'm just gonna go over it and it'll make it blended out a lot smoother. So when doing the lower lash line, I tend to stick to the same colors. So I'm gonna start with Eden, the transition shade we used, just to buff out the lower lash line. I'm gonna attach it to this. We are gonna go in with a liner, a wing liner. So I'm just gonna attach it to that and buff it out. This is kind of like a transition shade for your lower lash line. I love a buffed out lower lash line. I can't express that enough. I think it looks so beautiful. It just brings out the eyes. So doing the same thing for the other eye, buffing it out. And I'm just attaching it to here. And once you go darker, it's all gonna come together. And just buffing it all out. So the next shade we used was Blazing, so I'm gonna pick that up onto the same brush. Packing that on to the outer corner more so than bringing it in. So once it's packed onto the outer corner and there's barely any product, then I bring it in. So doing the same thing for the other eye. And then bringing it in slowly. And then I'm just attaching it all to this to make it come all together. Going in with a smaller brush, I'm gonna go in, no, we'll use it. Never mind. So that same brush we were using, I'm gonna pick up Saffron, that burgundy shade. So picking it up on there. And in the outer corner, I'm just gonna barely use this shade. And then brush it in. Just about like that's it. So picking it up on, barely brushing it in, and then bringing it in. And now I'm gonna go in with Amber. So picking up that tiny brush, picking up that chocolatey rusty brown, tight along the outer corner, and then bringing it in halfway and then back. So same thing for the other side, tight along the edge, bringing it in halfway and then back. And we are gonna do the same thing with that chocolate brown we used. So picking it up on that same tiny brush, packing it on to the edge, bringing it in halfway and then back. And then I'm gonna slightly bring it down just to kind of blend it out. And then that brush we were using earlier, I'm gonna use it all to blend it out. So I kind of dipped into that chocolate brown with this fluffy brush, just barely, but it blends it out beautifully. And then I'm gonna bring it all the way in and just feather it in here, just so there's no harsh line. And then bring it up so it's all connected in the outer corner. So I did do a lot off camera. I went ahead and applied my liner and popped on a pair of lashes. Check out these lashes, you guys. They're amazing. These are in the style Dreamy by Lavish Lashes, and they're so wispy and they don't completely hide away your shadow. You know, there's those really dramatic lashes that completely hide away your eyeshadow. These are not like that. It still peeks through for everyone to notice. It is so amazing and super girly. I did also decide to go in with a nude pencil in the waterline just to keep it a little morning time vibe, since I am gonna wear this throughout the day. And I did contour, bronze my face, nose, and I set a baking powder under my cheeks. So while that is setting, I'm just gonna quickly highlight the high points of my face. So going in with the Jacklyn Hill High Vault Loose Powder, picking that up on a pencil brush, I am gonna start with my nose. So I like to highlight my nose in parts So when I sit down the highlighter, pat it out just so it blends out beautifully. This highlighter though is so beaming. And then I'm just going to do the bridge of my nose. So go straight down the bridge of your nose. Look at that. I haven't picked up more product. I'm still going with the same amount. So now I'm going to do the tip of my... Hey, Rudolph. So now I'm going to do the tip of my nose. And go in to the corner of my eyes. And this highlight has somewhat of a tint of a brown to it, so it's going to really nicely melt that shimmer we put on our lids with this highlighter. So it's just going to nicely melt it together. It's going to go so beautifully together. And then I like to bring it just under my water line just to blend it out with that blown out we did. And doing the same thing for the other eye. Bring it in here. And I like to blend this out high and up. Just makes my eyes look really awake and open, and then blend it out in here just to brighten it up under there. I'm gonna also use this for my brow bone, so I'm just gonna pick that up and hit my high point of my brow super lightly. I'm gonna wipe away my baking area now, the baking powder I had setting, and bring it up. I always like to do this to blend it all out on top. So doing the same thing for this side, and then I just like to take it over the contour just to kind of like blend that area out. And then I'm gonna go in with, I keep dropping it. So my blush, Melba by MAC, and picking that up on a blush brush. There's just something about a really pinky blush. Looks so girly and so subtle. It's beautiful. So smiling, I'm just gonna pack that onto my cheek and then bring it up. So as I'm packing it on, I like to bring it up so it just like whoosh, nicely blended out. So same thing for this side. Packing it onto my cheek and then bringing it up. And then it's just nicely blended out. And then to finish it off, I'm gonna go in with a setting spray after I'm done with this blush.
7 hours later. 2,000 years later. Approximately 10 hours later.
I'm a girl. So for my lipstick, I did do it off camera. I went in with 2 shades. So I went in with Ashton all over, and to top it off, I'm using the YSL in 214. It is a beautiful pinky nude. To get the perfect nude for myself, I feel like I tend to mix up my lipsticks. I don't always wear just one shade. I always like to put on another shade just to either create that perfect color I'm looking for, or like even like to create that ombre effect, I just stick that white shade in the middle, so it just gives them more of a pout look. However, this made the perfect mocha pink shade. I am really loving this shade right now, so that's why I mixed these two together to come up with this. And that is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, you know the deal. Give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below, because I love to hear what kind of requests you guys have for me. Thanks for watching.